नमस्कार एवं सुस्वागतम। विशिष्ट अतिथियों, सम्मानित वैज्ञानिकों, शोधकर्ताओं, मित्रों और सहकर्मियों, मुझे बहुत खुशी हो रही है कि मैं भारतीय उष्णदेशीय मौसम विज्ञान संस्थान के 64वें संस्थापन दिवस पर आप सभी का हार्दिक स्वागत कर रही हूँ।
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, esteemed scientists, researchers, friends, colleagues, it is with great pleasure that I heartily welcome you all to the 64th IITM Foundation Day. We have all gathered here on this auspicious occasion celebrating the remarkable journey of the Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology.
To begin our program, we would like to welcome our chief guest, Dr. Roger Pulverty. Dr. Roger is a distinguished climatologist, fellow of American Meteorological Society, and senior scientist of NOAA Physical Science Laboratory in Boulder, Colorado. He holds a BSc in Atmospheric Science from York University and a PhD in Climatology from University of Colorado, Boulder. His work span over 120 publications, focuses on weather, water, climate extreme, and their societal impact, particularly in US, Latin America, and Caribbean. He has led many major initiatives such as US National Integrated Drought Information System, contributed as a lead author to IPCC assessment, and served as a principal liaison officer for International Union of Geodesy and Geophysics to WMO. We would now like to welcome our guest of honor, Director General of Meteorology at the India Meteorological Department, Dr. Mrityunjay Mahapatra. Dr. Mahapatra is India's permanent representative to the WMO. He has over 30 years of experience in meteorology. Under his leadership, India has significantly improved tropical cyclone forecasting, reducing track and landfall errors, and pioneering impact-based warnings. He has chaired numerous national and international committees and contributed to capacity building across the WMO and regional meteorology programs. His contribution has been recognized globally, including with UN Sasakawa Award for Disaster Risk Reduction and the American Meteorological Society Outstanding Service Award.
We would now like to welcome the head of the National Center for Medium Range Weather Forecasting, Dr. V.S. Prasad, sir. Under his leadership, NCMR-WSF has developed advanced data assimilation systems and operational ensemble forecasting. His research focuses on data processing, satellite data retrievals, and data assimilation with over 100 scientific publications to his credit. He has also been honored with several awards, including the B.N. Desai Medal, Mosam Biennial Award, and the MOS Merit Certificate. Welcome, sir.
We would now like to welcome Mission Director for the Mission Mosam, Dr. Praveen Kumar. Dr. Praveen Kumar is a senior scientist. He is deeply involved in numerical weather prediction, data assimilation, and high-performance computing, contributing to the development of NCMR weather model and unified forecasting system. His work with NCMR supercomputing infrastructure has been well recognized at the national level. He has received Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam HPC Award for his expertise in HPC planning.
We would now like to welcome our director, Dr. Surya Chandra Rao. Dr. Rao is a leading expert in atmospheric and oceanic sciences with over 3 decades of research experience. He joined IITM in 2008, served as a project director for the monsoon mission and high performance computing before becoming the director of IITM. A PhD gold medalist in physical oceanography from Andhra University. Dr. Rao previously held research positions at National Institute of Oceanography, Goa, the Institute of Marine Affairs, Trinidad Tobago, and Frontier Research System for Global Change in Japan. His pioneering work on coupled climate modeling, ocean-atmosphere interactions, and Indian monsoon dynamics has greatly advanced India's forecasting capabilities and climate research infrastructure. Also, recipient of multiple honors, including Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam HPC Award and MOS Certificate Merit, Dr. Rao continues to play a pivotal role in enhancing national and international climate science collaborations. Welcome, sir.
We would now like to welcome the Chair of Foundation Day Committee and Project Director for KIPEX project of IITM, Dr. Tara Prabhakaran. Dr. Tara is a senior scientist at IITM Pune, specializing in cloud microphysics, boundary layer meteorology, and mesoscale modeling. She holds an MSc in physics and MTech in atmospheric sciences from University of Pune and a PhD in atmospheric sciences from University of Natural Resources and Life Sciences, Vienna, Austria. She is also recipient of a Anna Mani Award by the Ministry of Earth Sciences, also a member of a World Meteorological Organization expert team on weather modification and International Commission for Cloud and Precipitation. Welcome, ma'am.
One of our guests of honor, Sri Naval Kishore Ramji, who is the Municipal Commissioner of the PMC, could not attend this gathering because of some urgent commitments. So I just want to convey that message. Okay, we would now like to welcome our guests with commemorative plants. These plants shall be planted within the Institute's premises and dedicated in honor of our guest. I request the students to please present the plants to the guests. Thank you. Moving on. The lighting of lamp marks the removal of darkness and ignorance and the illumination of wisdom and learning. Let this light inspire us to move forward with clarity, purpose, and a spirit of enlightenment as we begin today's celebration. May I now request all the dignitaries present on the stage to kindly come forward and light the ceremonial lamp.
गणदेवताय गणाध्यक्षाय धीमहि गुणशरीराय गुणमण्डिताय गुणेशानाय धीमहि गुणातीताय गुणाधीशाय गुणप्रविष्टाय धीमहि एकदन्ताय वक्रतुण्डाय गौरीतनयाय धीमहि गजेशानाय भालचन्द्राय श्रीगणेशाय धीमहि गानचतुराय गानप्राणाय गानान्तरात्मने गानोत्सुकाय गानमत्ताय गानोत्सुकमनसे गुरुपूजिताय गुरुदेवताय गुरुकुलस्थाय गुह्यप्रवराय गुरवे गुणगुरवे गुरुदैत्यकलक्षेत्रे गुरुधर्मसदाराध्याय गुरुपुत्रपरित्रात्रे गुरुपाखण्डखण्डकाय गीतसाराय गीततत्त्वाय गीतगोत्राय धीमहि गूढगुल्फाय गन्धमत्ताय गोजयप्रदाय धीमहि गुणातीताय गुणाधीशाय गुणप्रविष्टाय धीमहि एकदन्ताय वक्रतुण्डाय गौरीतनयाय धीमहि गजेशानाय भालचन्द्राय श्रीगणेशाय धीमहि
Thank you for the divine melody. Now I request Dr. Tara to deliver a welcome address.
सुप्रभातम। हमारे संस्थान में के 64वीं स्थापना दिवस पर मैं आप सबका स्वागत करती हूँ। It is my immense pleasure and honor to welcome you all to the 64th Foundation Day of our institute. On behalf of our director, Dr. A. Surya Chandra Rao, all our present and retired colleagues, founding fathers and mothers of our institute, I extend a warm and heartfelt welcome to all our esteemed guests present here. I remember Professor P.R. Pishareddy, our founding director, who laid the foundation for aspirations and ambitions for IITM, and everyone who made it possible for IITM to be the leading institution on tropical meteorology in the world. Today, we are so privileged to have our chief guest, Dr. Roger S. Pulverty. He is a senior scientist and acting director in the NOAA Physical Sciences Laboratory at NOAA Office of Oceanic and Atmospheric Research in Boulder, Colorado. He is also associated with IUGG and WMO. Our guest of honor, respected Director General of India Meteorological Department, Dr. M. Mohapatra. Welcome, sir, both of you. And Sri Naval Kishore Ram, IAS officer, Pune Municipal Commissioner, could not attend due to some other appointment. So we also thank him for giving us the opportunity. We also have head of NCMRWF, Dr. V.S. Prasad, and Dr. Praveen Kumar, Program Director for Mission Mausam, and at MOES, and they are with us on the dais. Welcome, sir. As chair of the Foundation Day, myself, as well as co-chair, Dr. Sabin, and our Foundation Day organizing team of IITM wholeheartedly welcome you to enjoy every moment of the Foundation Day today. And today, it will be ending with the display of our talents and a dinner with our extended family members. Upholding the vision of our institute, recognition, enthusiasm, celebration, and togetherness make the IITM Foundation Day so special and remarkable. मैं आप सबका धन्यवाद करती हूँ और थैंक यू एंड जय हिंद.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now I request Dr. Rao to please come forward and felicitate Dr. Roger with memento. Dr. Rao, kindly felicitate Dr. Mahapatra with the memento.
Now I request Dr. Tara to kindly come forward and felicitate Dr. B.S. Prasad sir with a memento. Sir, sir. I request Dr. Tara to felicitate Dr. Praveen with a memento. Thank you, everyone.
We would now invite Dr. Surya Rao to share his few words and take us through the journey of Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology. Sir.
Good morning, everyone. Our today's chief guest, Roger Pulvarti, and guest of honor, Dr. Mahapatra, Dr. V.S. Prasad, head and CMRWF, and mission director for Mission Mosam, Dr. Praveen, my colleague and senior scientist, Dattara, and other distinguished scientists who are sitting in the audience, Dr. K.J. Ramesh, Dr. Adityagi, Dr. Rajiv, and Anand Sharma, Kamra Saab, all of you, a very good morning. It is my privilege to present what is the progress that we have made in the last 1 year. Not like the speaker before me said that I am not going to take you throughout IMD's history, only the last 1 year. What is that achievement that we have achieved in last 1 year? And as you can see that the IITM's major aim is to empower the nation through climate sciences. So this is what is our, from the day it started, and even today it is the same mission that we are going forward. So for last 63 years, we have been serving this nation. And this is our mission statement: to make IITM a world center of excellence in basic research on the ocean atmosphere climate system. This is most important part, required for improvement of weather and climate forecasts. The whole idea of IITM is to improve the weather and climate forecasts, and whatever is required to achieve that goal. That is what is the mission statement of IITM. To do that, we develop outstanding research talent capable of understanding and exploring enlightened and effective atmosphere sciences. So now the atmosphere science doesn't stand alone. It is both ocean, atmosphere, cryosphere, whole Earth system we have to understand. To further advance the research in atmosphere, ocean, land, that is what Earth system, we are undertaking relevant scientific programs to collaborate with other similar research institutions in the development, application of climate studies, not only nationally, internationally as well. So the conception of IITM started, as I mentioned before, it is started sometime in 1959. In the third session of WMO, it was felt that through resolution 22 that there should be a research institute for tropical meteorology. And the major aim of that is the urgent need for research work in tropical meteorology, especially as regards developing forecasting techniques. So we always remember this part of our mission, and the conceptualization also has happened because of there is a need for improving the weather and climate forecasts. So using that, we have started working, and all other things are followed after that. So in 1961, IMD has submitted a request to the Secretary of the Government of India, Ministry of Transport and Communications. It used to be under that ministry that time. So in 1962, IITM started. And again, with the same focus that improving the weather and climate forecasts, whatever is required to achieve that. So we, as mentioned, it started in 1962 at Ramdurg House, IMD. So we, in such a small house, it started in 1962. And now you see that it has grown into a pan-India presence. Not only pan-India, it is now, I'm very happy to announce to this august audience that we are going to start first time an international observatory in Maldives. So that is where this year we will be going to Maldives to conduct that experiments, and it will be the responsibility of IITM henceforth. So coming to the publications, yes, we have been doing very well, and there was a big jump in publications until 2021. Afterwards, we saw because of COVID and all, there was a drop in number of publications, but again started increasing. So 2025, one more month is there, so we hopefully will reach 24 benchmark. And we have about 116 scientists working at IITM. So if you look at the whole of IITM, we used to have more than 150 scientists in 2015. Now it has come down to 116. So that is one thing that we are really worried about. But thanks to the government and through different programs, they are keep on giving us more manpower. So the permanent manpower is about 172, including maintenance, administrative, and all that. But the temporary employees amounts to 213. So we have as good, so almost same number of regular employees we have, temporary employees also. So this pie chart gives you how this distinction happened. 55% of the staff is mostly the temporary staff, and the research is 30%. That is the one thing that is we are really worried about, and we are working to improve that further. So as IITM, whenever we mention about IITM to some of my colleagues, or yesterday also our director secretary has approached the commissioner's office. So when they have mentioned that IITM is so and so, so and so, so their first response came from them is that it is an international institution. So if you are inviting the commissioner to IITM, it is a privilege to us, not to you. So that is the response. We got it from the commissioner office. Unfortunately, could not make it because of some other commitment came up suddenly. So we have our scientists are recognized worldwide, and in different, they represent almost all committees of WMO, and they contribute significantly. These are some of them. It is not that the list is complete, exhaustive list, but these are only few of them. So we know that the last year started with the Mission Mausam launched by our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and after that we have started taking up very active role in Mission Mausam. So these are the different institutions from MOS which have participated in this Mission Mausam program. So the whole idea of this Mission Mausam is a transformational MOS initiative for making it weather-ready nation by 2047 for to meet with Viksit Bharat goals. So in Mission Mausam, we have about 9 verticals. So starting from frontier, that is aircraft, HPC, UAS, all those technologies to be used, and decision support system. This is majorly led by IMD for delivering the information generated by different models and also different tools. So weather mod is another program, again led by IITM. Weather mod is weather management and modification research, and also making it operational. Lead is the capacity building required for Mission Mausam, and ATCOM, atmosphere composition and air quality. Impact is high impact weather, and develop next generation system models for making improved forecasts and observe all. So we don't want to miss a single event that is not observed over India using the observe all. So these are the different verticals, and as I mentioned, it launched only last year, and these are the targets that were prescribed in the mission document. So I am very happy to announce today that most of these targets are already achieved, are very close to fulfilling those things. So you can see that the skills that we want to reach for different time periods were already achieved, and maybe some small gaps are there, but that also will complete by March 2025. So when it comes to Mission Mausam, there are, as I mentioned, all these different components are there. Everything converges to one single component, that is to improve weather and climate forecasts and also improve the dissemination mechanism as well. So within 1 year of launching of Mission Mausam, in the last 1 year, the scientists of IITM have done a commendable job in setting up 3 different test beds in a short span of 1 year. That is over Delhi, Chennai, and Vizag, Visakhapatnam. So within almost 9 months, they could achieve this because of their dedication and also the planning. So in other components, weather modification, we are going to get a cloud chamber, but as you know that it will take its own time. And all other components are very much in line. So when it comes to observations, the scientists who are involved in observational campaigns, they have done a commendable job, and particularly all these groups, and as this map of India shows that our presence is everywhere. Our instruments are there everywhere, and we are having branch office at different locations now. We are expanding it further. So Thunderstorm Dynamics has done an excellent job of spreading the whole lightning network throughout India. And almost every week we receive some request from different organizations that we want your knowledge partnership in setting up LLN or help them in improving the forecast or the dissemination mechanism. Similarly, other like Mahabaleshwar, Mumbai Miso Network, CAPEX. Last week only we had a very important WMO conference on weather modification, and it was, people have realized that the work that has been done at IITM is it is not second to none. So there are several countries are coming forward to work with IITM to sign various MOUs on weather modification and management technologies that we have developed or developing. So as I mentioned, the test beds are now in place, the urban test beds and Northeast intensive observation program, all this, everything is set up very at different locations, and the atmospheric chemistry has taken up very bold initiatives and started delivering the forecasts to different stakeholders. Not only Delhi, we started in Delhi, but now it has gone to several other states also. So recently, after I took over, the Tamil Nadu government also came forward and that mentioned that they want to have their own suffer-like system for Madras. And the good news is that the whole amount or the funding that is required, the Tamil Nadu government is ready to bear everything. So similarly, Rajasthan and also Mumbai also is coming forward. Mumbai, not only Mumbai, they want to expand to whole of Maharashtra. So the other, that National Enterprise for Atmospheric Technology, NEAT, is one of the components of Mission Mausam that is supposed to take up incubation centers and innovative startups, industry partnerships and all that. So the work is going little slowly, but definitely by next year, we will be very much occupied with this activity as well. So NEAT will most important part of the whole Mission Mausam, and that will be taken up very shortly. So when it comes to modeling achievements, you all know that we have launched Bharat Forecast System, short-range forecast, which runs at a 6.5 kilometers highest resolution compared to any other global center in the world. So after that, we have also launched Bharat Forecast System Extended Range Forecast version 2, and both were launched by our Honorable Minister for Earth Sciences. So the Honorable Minister also launched airwise system for air quality management at different locations, particularly for Delhi. And there are a lot of industries which are coming forward. After we launched the Bharat Forecast System, several industry partners have came forward. They want to use our products, and when they came forward, the first thing I mentioned to them is that first test our products, then only we will enter into MOU. So now I'm very happy to inform you that the amount of money they were spending on ECMWF forecasts, they want to stop and start paying IITM. So that is the one of the greatest achievement. I should say that now all these industry partners who are in India, they want to move towards Bharat Forecast System and use it for their operational purposes and also different other aspects. So we also have started developing applications for society. So one of the recommendations of RAC was that you are creating useful products, but make it usable products. So that we took it very seriously, and there are several applications now, they are usable directly by the stakeholders. So with this research to operations to applications is our motto to develop any of the models. So this is just a snapshot of when we have handed over Bharat Forecast System in June 2025. Before that itself we have handed over, but they started making it operational from June 2025. So this is Extended Range Prediction version 2 when we have handed over. As I said before, the skill of Extended Range Forecast for week 3 is already now 0.5. So we have already reached whatever we have proposed in the Mission Mausam document. So air quality wise, air-wise system. It has complete covers all aspects of air quality. And I'm very happy to inform you that the CAQM, Commission for Air Quality Management, is mainly depends on the products that are developed at IITM. So we also work with other agencies, CPCB. Of course, IMD is always our big brother. So we have, our existence is because of IMD. So that we never forget. DGSAP is here, so I'm again emphasizing that the whole IITM existence is because of IMD, and we always strive to reach those targets that have been given by IMD every time. So Delhi Pollution Control Board, Rajasthan, Pune Municipal Corporation, Pimpri Chinchwad, and the list is now going on. So Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra, everybody is joining this initiative. And one of the other major achievements that happened in last 1 year is that decadal prediction system. So before this, our presence, the whole India's presence in decadal prediction was not there. So with this, we have become one of the few centers who creates the decadal predictions on regular basis on operational purposes. So when coming to the future of IITM, what is that we have is that this is the plan we already set in place. What is that strategy is that plan, get ready, set, and go. So plan is for making the climate projections and also decadal predictions so that you can prepare in the long term what should be your strategy. So ready is seasonal forecast. So monsoon mission CFS version 2 was also launched, was developed last year, but not launched because, as you know, that seasonal forecast requires a lot of handcards. That exercise is going on. So this is one of the best models in the world to have the highest skill compared to any other model in the world, and also highest resolution. So after that set mid-range, that is short range and medium range and also extend range, the prediction skills are very good for monsoon forecast. And so this is the whole idea of the having a seamless forecast system. So similarly, the air system model, IITM ESM also has done a lot of good work, and they have added several components. So I don't want to go into more and more details. So, but they are also actually involved in making many of these components of a system that are to be incorporated in the air system model. So these are our, just few of them are listed, but there are so many. If I put all of them, the whole slide will not be enough. So these are the different partners, industrial and academic partners, who are coming forward to work with IITM to do direct service to the society through developing the different applications. So these are the major achievements of different programs. I don't want to, again, go into details because of shortest time. But you can see that all of them I have mentioned already. So in the next coming years, our strategy is this: modeling, observations, and other tools. This is the what we'll be achieving. So from local to regional to country to global. So this is our strategy to improve our forecasts. So from minutes to centuries, that is our focus. And the final goal is to create applications for society and also for planning and also economy and policy decisions. So this is all we are trying to fit it in a nice cube so that the work can be carried out very systematically. At the heart of our vision lies a commitment to serve society and the economy, enable informed planning, and drive evidence-based policy. So this is what is our motto going to be. So it should be evidence-based policy decisions. So for that, observations and modeling and also different tools, AML, other tools also will be very, very useful. So future strategy for working across the scales. So as you have seen the previous slides, each modeling time scale using different models. Now, future strategy, what we want to do is that we want to bring all modelings together, and they have come forward with a very nice plan of what they will do the next couple of years. So seasonal to short and medium range, what all they want to do, they are listed there. CCC or IITM ESM, what components they will add, and decadal, what they will add. So they came for the first time, all the modeling groups within the IITM came together, came up with a plan. So this is what we will do to develop one single unified seamless prediction system for all scales. So this is what is going to be our future vision for next 2 to 3 years. So when it comes to observations, they also have a clear strategy. So we started indigenously printing the AWS systems, 3D printing of AWS system, thanks to UCAR for partnering with us. So they have already printed more than 50 AWS within the institute. And most importantly, world's largest cloud chamber is going to come up in IITM. And this will be the 16-meter tall cloud chamber. Actually, that will help us to understand various weather modification technologies or various microphysics that are important in managing our weather. So that will be coming up. Actually, tomorrow it's supposed to be, foundation stones should be laid down by Honorable Minister. Unfortunately, again, because of other commitments, he could not come. So, but he mentioned very clearly that don't do foundation stone laying until I come there. So he has promised that he will come next week or this week to do that job as well. So another important test beds that we have already set up at Delhi, Chennai, Mumbai. So they'll be expanding it further and also strengthening the network within those metros. So most importantly, we have started using UAVs and drones for observing, and also we'll start using them for management of weather. How do we, using the cloud seeding or other aspects, we try to see whether how much these technologies can be used. So coming to the HPC side, is a very ambitious program that is called Prithvi AI or Prithvi Pratibimb. So in this project, what the scientists of IITM wants to do is that they want to develop a digital twin of Earth by using different traditional ML models, also the physics-informed neural networks. So the whole idea is to actually go into details of cloudbursts, hyperlocal forecasts, urban meteorology, thunderstorms, lightning, flash flood, air pollution. So for this, we need to have a sub-kilometer models. It is not using the traditional models will not be useful for this. So they want to develop AML models and the traditional models combine and try to develop this Prithvi AI program. So one important output or outcome from this activity is that Mosam GPT. But only now recently only we came to know that Mosam, it will not be called Mosam GPT, it will be called Mosam Vani. So that is one of the GPT application or large language model. Actually, you don't have to go into any website or anything, ask for your weather or climate. All the information will be available at one location, and you just have to ask the question to your mobile. So that will tell you what is the weather going to be next 3 days or next 5 days, and also what is the extended forecast at this location, what is the seasonal forecast, whether what type of crop you want to go for. So all the details will be there. But the version 0, only weather information dissemination is now ready. And it was also supposed to be launched by Honorable Minister tomorrow. Again, because of his busy schedule, he could not come. Again, he said, don't even launch this also until I come. So that is the beauty of IITM. The products that are coming out of IITM, everybody owns them, not only IITM alone, everybody else also owns them. So we also started working on quantum computing. So there was a nice study was done already by the group IITM scientists, the quantum computing to study cloud turbulence properties. So we are not leaving quantum computing behind. So these are the team leaders who are responsible for making whatever the achievements I have shown you. These are the scientific team leaders that have actually achieved this, and I thank all of them for making IITM vibrant as usual. So these are the support team leaders who are supporting silently behind the scenes and giving whatever support is required for the whole IITM system. So most importantly, it is the team IITM that is important. So heartfelt congratulations to all IITM employees who have made the whatever achievements I have shown possible. Without the support of MOS, various committees. So RAC is here, SRMC is here. So all of them came forward, and without their guidance and the support from the other research institutes, partner institutions, IITM would not have been reached these new heights. So we thank all of them for their continuous support, and your collective efforts continue to strengthen IITM's leadership in climate science and service to the nation. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. We are indeed deeply grateful to you for sharing your valuable insights and vision with us. Your words will continue to inspire and guide us in our quest for scientific excellence. Thank you, sir. I now request Dr. V.S. Prasad, head of NCMRWF, to share his thoughts and address the audience.
Dr. Roger Pulsworthy, chief guest of this function, and Dr. Mrityunjay Mahapatra, chief guest, and Dr. Surichandar Rao, and Dr. Praveen, and Dr. Tara Prabhakaran, and former DGs of IMD, Ajit Chagi Saab, and Dr. Ramesh, and dignitaries from of the dais. And I feel proud to be part of this function, and I congratulate IITM for celebrating the 64th foundations and their contributions to the Indian meteorological science. And I congratulate Dr. Surya. He presented well what are the achievements that IITM has been doing from the last so many years. And he clearly shown that the IITM establishing test bed centers and also throughout the country, especially in the Bhopal and also in other places. And now they are expanding to coastal regions, IIT, Chennai and other places also. And also the observational network, various observations that has that they are implementing, that they are developing various places. And also, and under Dr. Tara Prabhakaran, weather modifications that are being carried out. So in these things, IIT is leading in many fields, and from the modeling to that, the Bharat forecasting system that Surya mentioned about. But these successes are very much useful, very much required, and the model that they are developing also very much become popular. The main problems of in India is we have to forecast extreme weather events very well, and in that way, I hope these test bed centers will help us to improve the parameterization schemes, and our model modifications are doing very better way, so that we can improve the model and become the regional leaders. As Surya mentioned, that IITM is becoming the partners internationally, and also we have to lead this region. In this region, NCMRWF and IITM is supporting IMD, giving the forecast and improving the forecast skills that from the thing. But our role has to be increased, become world leaders and also regional leaders. We have to not only for India, and we have to we are MOES is supporting BIMSTEC countries in this region. So we have to strengthen our forecasting system and also make others use our forecasts and our research and well used in this region, not only this internationally also. And the need of the hour is, as Surya mentioned, that we have to go for AML so that people can use much more better. And for that AML and the observational network and the parameterization that IITM is doing, NCMRWF will keep hand with them and use them in the modelings and make it models more perfect, and also to make it that when our reanalysis products also very much helpful in that way. We have generated a lot of reanalysis products. All together we have to use them and generate AML and sub-kilometer global model and digital twins are possible by using the reanalysis data sets, and the data analysis thing that we're supporting to the decadal analysis and other things, we'll keep on that one. And CMRWA of IITM's major role is to help IMD to give the better forecast, improve the forecast, and a lot of achievements under Dr. Mahapatra we have done with the cyclone things. For extreme weather forecast, we have to do our research much more stronger, and mainly the rainfall. Rainfall forecast in the modeling is the major problem that we have to address with our parameterization improvements or physics developments that IITM is doing. IITM is mainly with these test-based centers and observational network, IITM is leading us. In the NCMRWFR, I think it is a research we left. I think the IITM has to do that one, and we have to implement then these things will be used in NCMRWF and IMD, other things, and strengthening our forecast systems, and also use them in that in the better way. The main focus on the digital twins is mainly depend upon to build that one. It is required high analysis and reanalysis systems. We make it stronger with observations, observational networks, and the support from the IITM that they are giving with the test-bed centers at Mahabaleshwar and Bhopal, IRT, and now at Chennai. I think these things will improve our research and our forecast modeling things and parameterizations and in better way. With this, I congratulate IITM for their success, and they are becoming world leaders in observationals and also physics developments and the model developments that are carrying out. And once again, congratulates my colleagues from IITM for doing the excellent work. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your valuable thoughts with us. I now request our guest of honor, Dr. Mahapatra, to offer his reflection and address the gathering.
Namaskar. Good morning to all of you. Honorable Chief Guest of the 64th Foundation Day of Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, Professor Roger S. Pulvarti, Senior Scientist and Fellow of AMS, member of IUGG, my friend and colleague and director of Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, Pune, Dr. Surichandra Rao, Dr. V.S. Prasad, Director, National Center for Medium Range Weather Forecasting, Dr. Praveen, Program Head, Mission Mausam, or Mission Director, Mission Mausam, Dr. Tara Prabhakaran, Chairperson of the Organizing Committee, and well-known scientist among each of us, distinguished guests of the dais, former Director Generals of India Meteorological Department, Tyagi Saab, Ramesh Saab, former Director of Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, Pune, Professor Rabi, Professor Kamra Saab, distinguished colleagues from Ministry of Earth Sciences, Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, IMD, INCOES, distinguished friends and members of various committees of Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I extend my heartiest greetings to Dr. Surichandra Rao and entire team of Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology on this auspicious occasion of 64th Foundation Day of IITM. I wish you all a happy Foundation Day, a happy birthday, and also wish many more happy returns of the day. The achievements of Indian tropical meteorology has been deliberated by Surya Saab. It has been echoed by Dr. Prasad Saab. And all of us know that how, over a short period of time of 64 years, 63 years basically, Indian tropical meteorology has grown leaps and bounds and has established itself as an international center of excellence. It is a center to be proud of. An entire country is proud of with the achievement of Indian tropical meteorology. Especially if we look at the idea which was conceived at that time with a basic understanding of the complex problem of monsoon. It has spread its wings to all aspects of tropical meteorology. So be it the monsoon variability or the monsoon predictions. It is also ventured into the other aspects like all types of severe weather events occurring in the region. It has ventured into the artificial rainmaking, understanding of various processes leading to the contemporary challenges like, say, paleoclimatology or the predicted or projected climate change aspects. So everywhere if you look at, there is a stamping by Indian tropical meteorology in the global arena. It has also been recognized by the world bodies, especially World Meteorology Organization has recognized as International Monsoon Program Office. And many scientists from Indian tropical meteorology are the members of the various committees of WMO and other international organizations. So while we were not in place on this earth when IITM took place, like me, many others. But when you grew up, when you came in contact with IITM, then we came to know that how important it is. Considering myself, I came in contact in 1992 when I joined IMD, and we were trained in this city with all the experts from IITM and IMD. And the basic lectures provided by IITM scientists at that time, I will say, we'll never forget in life. So what I want to say that from that beginning, IITM has also contributed specifically to capacity building of the country. It has developed the human resources for the country. Now you can find out the products delivered by IMD being delivered by IITM being accepted by not only by Minister of Earth Sciences and his constituents, but many other organizations, academia, universities, R&Ds across the globe. So while we started with simple understanding of the variability of monsoon at that time, when we were learning, and the basic concept of paleoclimatology with tree ring analysis or ocean core analysis, now we find that there has been a quantum jump, especially in the recent years, towards the modeling. Now we have come up with a seamless forecasting system in the country because of the major contribution from Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology. When we say seamless forecasting system, usually we thought that it will go from a seasonal forecast, then monthly forecast, then extended range forecast, then short to medium range forecast, and then the nowcast. So if you look at the various time scales, you will find that we have been able to work together in the Ministry of Earth Sciences with able leadership of current Secretary of Ministry of Science, Minister of Earth Sciences, and also the previous secretaries and honorable ministers and current honorable ministers. So there has been a recognition towards the established modeling system, which is helping not only India, but also all the countries in this region, starting from, say, Middle East to the Southeast Asian nations, or to the north, to the Central Asia, or to the south, even Southern Hemisphere. It is also given understanding of the polar meteorology and Himalayan ecosystems. There has been certain challenges in recent time. One of the challenges is the climate change, and IITM is geared up to provide the Earth system modeling system in addition to the basic understanding. Similarly, there has been challenge in the sense that we have been able to reduce the loss of lives due to the large-scale systems like, say, monsoonal heavy rainfall or tropical cyclones or heat waves or cold waves. But the number of deaths are increasing since recent time. You will find that about 2,500 people are dying every year due to the lightning. And IITM is looked at when this challenge came in 2018. Then we looked at IITM, and finally IITM and SunWF and IMD met together and could develop the lightning prediction system by April 2019. And today we are providing not only one model, also many models, and multi-model ensemble scheme has come up to provide the lightning prediction system in the country. So what I want to say that wherever there has been a challenge in any particular range, we have been able to gear up with the support of Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology. So being the backbone of IMD, it has always played its mandate and always come up to the time to provide the support and meet the challenges. And as far as last 1 year is concerned, as all of us know that, yes, decadal prediction, it has extended the seamless forecasting system, but we have to go a long way towards that, because after the season, we have to go for the annual forecast, a few year forecast, a 5-year forecast, then of course the decadal forecast. And then of course we have got the Earth system model to provide, say, 50-year forecast or 100-year forecast or 25-year forecast, etc. Similarly, if I just go down beyond short to medium range forecast, there is a nowcast, which is a forecast for a few hours. So there is another range called very short range forecast, the forecast for next 12 hours, or say 18 hours, so more than 6 hours, 6 to 18 hours, you can say. So there, of course, we have to develop our prediction system. And towards this direction, therefore, the first and foremost is a dream. So country has seen the dream with Honorable Prime Minister checking out that we should have a mission MOSAM. And mission MOSAM has been taken off. And again, the concept was taken up within the ministry, and Tara was doing a lead role to conceptualize, to bring out all the ideas and put up in a paper. And finally, we have come up with a very limited time, within 15 days perhaps, it was in a record that the program was approved by the government. And finally, the program has taken off. In all directions, we are venturing out, and IITM, of course, is leading with respect to its effects. And by that way, what is the objective? If you look at the objective of Mission MOSAM, we planned that at the end of the completion of Mission MOSAM, there should be a framework for the overall vision of Vision 2047. So Mission MOSAM will be the foundation for Vision 2047, and Mission MOSAM outcome will be visible by 2030. So if I say 2030 outcome, the basic thing is that in a layman's sense, we should have the ability to provide the forecast at least at panchayat and village level by 2030. And the second one is that the forecast should be extended in such a seamless manner that you can provide the forecast, say, a few hours to very short range forecast, then medium range forecast, etc., up to seasonal forecast in a very realistic term with the higher resolutions, both spatial resolutions and temporal resolutions. The third outcome is that there will be at least 10 to 15% improvement in forecast accuracy in all scales. So that is a big challenge for us. You may say that, what is that 10 to 15%? But when you have achieved 85% forecast accuracy in predicting heavy rainfall at meteorological subdivision level, if I say you improve further 10 to 15%, certainly it is a challenge. It is easy to improve from 60 to 75, but it is difficult to improve from 85 to 100. So however, but one specific target has been kept, that no severe weather will go undetected and unpredicted in nowcasting. That means up to 3 to 6 hours at least, it should be 100% accuracy, and beyond that, it should be 10 to 15% improvement in forecast accuracy. So towards that, if I understand, certainly we will need augmented observational network, which is being taken up by IMD. But augmented modeling and data processing, the post-processing will be the need of the hour. With the huge amount of data, we have to go for a very systematic post-processing to improve our model output, and also to provide very specific, sector-specific, or user-specific informations in the coming years. And towards this direction, what I see that the plan which has been chalked out by Dr. Surya in his presentation, like the GPUs, which are planning for, the quantum computing, which are planning for, will certainly provide us the computational infrastructure. At the same time, the modeling system, monsoon mission climate forecast system, we came up in 2012 when experiment was run and started dynamical modeling system. And before that, we were all with the statistical modeling systems. At present, for the first time in 2025, we provided sub-regional level seasonal forecast of the monsoon. And if you see that how the monsoon forecast is improved in recent time, it has all been possible because of the development of dynamical modeling system. And hence, of course, we have considered the multimodal ensemble. That is a separate story. But the basic backbone became the coupled forecasting system developed by IITM and other countries. Similarly, if I just look at the objective, what I told you, we have given a slogan, that is Har Har Mausam, Har Ghar Mausam. When I reach 2047, the dream is that every household should have the forecast for his or her requirements. So forecast should be available, forecast should be accessible, forecast should be usable, and forecast should trigger action at the household level. And that is again Har Har, that means every time, whenever he or she desires. So to meet that, it is not possible by IMD. It is the combined integrated approach by the Minister of Earth Sciences, and especially the IITM and NSWF will support towards this direction, along with INCOES and many others. Each component of the monsoonal system, which we are considering the Earth system modeling system, will help to achieve that target. So then only we can reach out the particular economy which we are dreaming of in the country, because the weather and climate is responsible for each and every socio-economic activities in the country. And by that way also will be a global leader to provide support to all countries. We are already global leader in providing support to many countries, but that will pose again a greater role compared to other countries in the world. So, yes, there has been a lot of talk about artificial rainmaking. Perhaps all of us remember, our ancestors will remember that Dr. S.K. Banerjee started artificial rainmaking experiment. So he was former DG of IMD. And from that day, if I look at the cloud chamber, which where Dr. Tara and others are planning, you can just see what the quantum jump we have taken off in the recent time, starting with the small beginning at that time by the first Director General of Indian origin, Dr. S.K. Banerjee, in 1944. So similarly, with the monsoonal variability understanding, the first data set prepared by Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, based on 316 stations taken out of many stations of India Meteorology Department, that became the backbone of many research. If you just count the number of papers published with the data set prepared at that time, Parthasarathi and Mulyan Parthasarathi or Parthasarathi, whatever it is. So that is so like that, I'm just going back a little to remember the past, because today is the foundation day. So starting with such giants, and also with the initiative of Professor Pisaretti and many and every director of Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, we have been crossing every barrier and reaching out to scale the new heights. So on this auspicious day, I, on behalf of India Meteorology Department, on behalf of Minister of Earth Science, and on behalf of all of you, express our great tributes to all these ancestors. हम आज के दिन में सभी को नमन करते हैं और श्रद्धांजलि अर्पण करते हैं, जिसकी वजह से आज इंडियन इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ ट्रॉपिकल मेट्रोलॉजी एक इंटरनेशनल सेंटर की तरह आज खड़े हुए हैं और देश की सेवा के लिए अपने आप को समर्पित किए हैं। हम और एक बार आप सभी को आज के दिन में बधाई देता हूं, अभिनंदन करता हूं और शुभेच्छा देता हूं, और ये आशा रखता हूं कि इंडियन इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ ट्रॉपिकल मेट्रोलॉजी इसका जो अग्रगति है, इसका जो प्रोग्रेस है, इसको जारी रखेगा और आने वाले दिनों में नया नया हाइट स्केल करते हुए एवरेस्ट जैसे आसमान को चुनने के लिए आगे बढ़ेगा। विश यू ऑल द बेस्ट। मैनी मैनी हैप्पी रिटर्न्स ऑफ द डे। थैंक यू।
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing your valuable thoughts with us. Your words will certainly drive us work with greater dedication, sir. Thank you very much.
We have completed 64 years with the dedication and efforts of many scientists and support staff. So we take this opportunity to felicitate and recognize the effort of few people on this day. This year, the award has been finalized by both our external and internal committee members. The session chair for external committee was Dr. Shinoy, and the session chair for internal committee was Dr. Gyanashilan. We would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to both the committee for their valuable contributions.
I would now like to request Dr. Roger Pulverty to come forward and give the awards to the awardees. So there are going to be announcements about the awardees, and the awardees are requested to come to the stage to get the award. So this year's Best Research Paper Award for Young Scientists has been awarded to Dr. Momita Pomik. Her study reassesses existing auto-conversion parameterization schemes and identifies a relative dispersion-based formulation as a more physically consistent parameterization for cloud droplet growth.
This year's Best Student Research Paper is awarded to Mr. Sandeep J. His study examined a linear cluster that produced 7 hours of rainfall over the rain shadow region of peninsular India using radar observation and 1 kilometer cloud resolving simulations. The model accurately reproduced cold pool, gust front, and their interactions, which organized convection and triggered heavy evening rainfall under favorable thermodynamic conditions. Dr. Sandeep J. So now I request Tara ma'am to receive the award on behalf of Sandeep.
Yeah.
आपको करना है जब मैं
Thank you, sir. I would now like to request Dr. Mahapatra, sir, to present award to awardees. Maybe you can. Yeah. So this year's Best Performance Award for Outstanding Contribution in Research category, mainly for the observational research, has been awarded to Dr. Dean Manilal, Scientist E. So you maybe can come forward, please.
This year, Best Performance Award for Outstanding Contribution in Research category for modeling is awarded to Dr. Jasti Chowdhury, scientist, IITM.
Thank you, Mahapatra sir. I would now like to request Dr. V.S. Prasad to give the award to awardees. And this year's Best Performance Award for Outstanding Contribution in Scientific Project Staff for Observational Categories has been awarded to Dr. Vidya Pawar, who is working as a project scientist.
This year, Best Performance Award for Outstanding Contribution in Scientific Project Staff for Observational Research is awarded to Shri Harish Chowdhury.
Thank you, Prasad sir. I would now like to request Dr. Praveen to give awards to awardees. This year's Best Performance Award for Outstanding Contribution in Scientific Project Staff for Modeling categories has been awarded to Dr. P.V. Rajesh.
This year, Best Performance Award for Outstanding Contribution in Scientific Project in Modeling Research is awarded to Dr. Rajmal Jad.
Thank you, Praveen sir. I would now like to request our director, Dr. Surachandra Rao, to give awards to the awardees. This year's Best Performance Award for Outstanding Contribution in Administrative category has been awarded to Sri Kunal Vishnu Yemul, who is working as UDC.
This year, Best Performance Award for Outstanding Contribution in Outsourced Staff is awarded to Srimati Vishakha Chandivade.
Thank you, Rao sir. There is one more new category that has come up this year, and this new category is for Swachhata Hi Seva Abhiyan Awards, which has been introduced this year. We would like to thank the committee members essentially who nominated these awards. The chairperson of the committee was Dr. Murugwell. And I would like to request Dr. Tara ma'am to give awards to the awardees. The first award in this category has been conferred upon Dr. Medha Deshpande. And the next award in the same category will be given to Ms. Tiyasha Dev. Ms. Tiyasha. There is one more award in the same category which will be bestowed upon Sri Prakash Panduranga Vyabhareji.
IITM would like to take this moment to honor and felicitate our retired employee who have completed 75 years of age. So now I request our director, Dr. Surya Chandra Rao, to felicitate the retired employees.
Okay, I will call upon their names आणि जे लोक इथे असतील अवेलेबल त्यांनी कृपया स्टेजवर यावे. All are requested to come to the stage and accept the awards. The first name is Srimati S.J. Mane. Mane ma'am आहेत का? She worked as a senior, she retired as a senior assistant in the year of 2010. Srimati S.J. Mane. Okay, moving on to next. Shri M.M. Vale. Vale sir. Okay. The next in line is Shri R.M. Kadatkar sir, who retired as scientist C. The next person is Dr. A.L. Londhe, who retired as Scientist D in the year 2010. Dr. A.L. Londhe. Sir? Go ahead. Okay. Moving on. I think that's not there. The next person in the list is Sri C.S. Bhosle, who retired as Scientist D in the year 2010. Bhosle sir, तुम्ही आहात का? Bhosle sir, Sri C.S. Bhosle. Okay. The next person is Sri T.R. Wagmare, who retires as lab attendant. Wagmare sir. We would now like to call upon stage Sri V.R. Muzumdar sir, who retired as Scientist C in 2010. We would now like to call upon Dr. Kandalgaonkar, who retired as Scientist D back in 2010. Dr. Kandalgaonkar, are you around? Okay. And then we would now like to call upon Sri V.G. Batija, who retired as Section Officer, Batija sir, in 2010, if you are around. Okay.
Now I would request all the dignitaries to please take their seats. With immense honor and deep respect, we would like to invite Dr. Roger to deliver the IITM Foundation Day lecture on drought science, impacts and services, addressing the compounding and cascading risk. So please.
Is it up? Thank you. So for the next, okay. So this one? Okay. You see, that's there. Yeah. No. But yeah. There you go. It's there. Can I use this? Yes. That too, right? Yeah, it's just easier. Okay. Good morning, everyone. I won't keep you too long. So my name's Roger Polwarty. I'm originally from Trinidad and Tobago. My great-grandparents are from Andhra. I cannot add to all of the stellar achievements and the things that you've heard. I will say one thing. My advisor visited the IITM when it first started under Dr. Pisharati. I'm the last student of someone named Herbert Reel, who helped create the field of tropical meteorology. And he would be so proud to see where the Institute has come under the leadership and the present leadership. This is all I can add to all of the stellar achievements. Over time, where I work in Colorado, we have hosted Bata Sarati, P.V. Joseph, Sulachana Gadgil, a whole host of very well-known fathers and mothers of Indian meteorology, and in fact, contributors to the understanding of tropical meteorology and to the betterment of humanity because of it. At this time, as the representative of the IUGG to the WMO, I am vice chair of the Standing Commission on Climate, a fellow of the AMS, a fellow of the AGU, and soon to be of the AAAS. But the reason why I'm mentioning that is to point to the rich heritage of the work done by people in this room and to recognize and thank Dr. Rao, Dr. Prabhakaran, and of course, the people who were on the dais with me, Dr. Prasad, Mohapatra, and so on. But what I would like to do is speak to this issue of drought. The work we have done, the ideas that have come to bear, and the importance coming from the time of Blandford to the present on the importance of the issue of drought around the world. I helped create something called the National Integrated Drought Information System, the International Drought Management Program, and come out of tropical convection over the Amazon basin. So we shall see how all of this has translated to the many jobs we have taken on over time. So the work I'm about to show on the collection actually has fed into numerous publications over time. And these publications, I've been involved in all of them, as we all have, and the research of yours and others go into them. Most recently, we've had the World Drought Atlas that just came out, the Global Threat of Drying Lands, the Drought 2021 report, the very first such report of the UN Office of Disaster Risk Reduction focused on drought. And the reason for the focus, I think, here on drought and water scarcity is that it represents more than any other hazard or disaster the cumulative impacts of the link between initial conditions and slowly varying states over time. And to that point, it makes it a very difficult problem to predict, to act on, and to respond. Yet we have had drought predictions over time, and I will point to that. This issue came up in great detail in the UN 2023 Water Conference, which many people in the room probably played a role in. I did as well. And I'll point to the high-level ministerial meeting on national drought policy in 2013, which led to the creation of the International Drought Program. I'm going to ask specific questions about how and what we can predict. And the essence of IITM and its rich heritage, I sit in the Office of Ocean and Atmospheric Research, but I also work closely with folks in the Caribbean and the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology. The question we ask is how we improve predictions and how we understand predictability, the extent to which something can be predicted over time. I'll come back to what that means for creating early warning systems. I'll point to what that means in the context of improving the situation of life on Earth, humans and animals, and the environment. So some of you would be familiar with this sort of figure. We see the share of global land area affected by droughts identified as some of those regions using the SPEI, tries to capture evapotranspiration within that. You see the sort of activities that push out from the different sort of scenarios that we've used over time. But all I want to use such a figure that talks about projections over time is that we know that within the next 80 years, over 129 countries will experience an increase in drought exposure due to climate change alone. And 38 countries due to the interaction between climate and water demands. So the problem of drought is to get a sense of what this integrated problem is over time. But as Professor Shukla, one of the giants in our field, can remind you, the seasonal problem is not solved. So as much as we talk about the projections, we have to ask the question, how are we actually creating seamless predictions and predictability and an understanding of the propagation of errors as we think through that. So here's one figure from Ben Cook, did a lot of paleo work over time. These decadal droughts have occurred around the world, and I'll point at the very end to something that is a challenge in our field, which is we have very few reliable predictions for multi-year droughts. And yet a drought is something that can go from the shortest term, a season or a subseason, to a decade. And a drought is something that can cover a few kilometers to tens of thousands of kilometers. A very complex system within a very complex Earth system. You can see around the world where these have occurred over time. Certainly in Western North America, I do a bunch of work there, then in Central America and the Caribbean, where I have teams working with us, certainly the Mediterranean and elsewhere, and definitely in India. More recently, we published the UNCCD, UN Convention to Combat Desertification Drought Atlas, the drivers of drought in the near term. And here we can see multi-year droughts in different parts of the world, and there have been in India as well. But what I wanted to do with this figure was basically to show from the previous one to this one that the scales, the interaction of the time scales between short-term droughts to long-term decadal drought, many of them occur in the same area, but we're also seeing them occur in new areas. In other words, what we call unrecorded areas of drought. In an assessment we did for the UN Convention, the UN Office of Disaster Risk Reduction, a publication from 2021, we assessed watersheds, countries around the world who are trying to get their heads around managing this cross-scale issue. Almost all cases identify underlying risk drivers needed to assess, reduce, and manage drought risk. We know what they are, but the question is, how predictable are they, and how can we get ahead of them on time? They're inconsistent assessments of drivers, vulnerabilities, and costs, and in the TropMet meeting over the next couple of days, we'll see some studies to try to get our heads around that. But most critically has been limited coordination at local, national, and regional levels. In other words, the governance by which we get at one of the most devastating hazards within the Earth system to people, communities, and economies, and the need for these local to national drought policies to actually not simply support emergency response, but the reduction of risk, a much more complex problem. I'll make a distinction as we go through this between being proactive, how do we respond to something that is impending? In other words, here are the projections, here's a likely forecast, versus being prospective, how do we not let new risks arise, and what is the science behind that? So for many parts of the world, drought still remains a hidden risk until impacts become critical. So folks will say, hey, look, we see when droughts are happening, we see people in the streets, and we see the collapse of crops, but that is too late to act. So still, for many parts of the world, drought remains a hidden risk until it is critical. As I like to tell people, we focus in the case of early warning, certainly on onsets and hurricanes, something I know a little bit about. I worked on that for many years, but when we get to something like drought, early warning is a very, very difficult proposition. As I like to say, it's like taking your car to the mechanic, and the mechanic says, I can't fix your brakes, so I fix your horn. The horn is the early warning, but are we actually fixing the brakes on the car? So drought is increasingly complex, and we know this, and you know this. There are changes over time, the changes in the base state. This is changing the nature of drought. Droughts have always happened. They're getting more difficult to get out of. Soil moisture plays a critical role. Certainly precipitation drought matters, but when it gets to be agricultural drought, then we're in a situation in which we have to manage landscapes. And there's another type of food security impact that is happening, which is the cascading impacts of globally networked risks. Drought in one area affecting the food security of other areas. You saw this during the war in Ukraine, but actually in the 2010 war in drought in Ukraine and Russia, the places that were impacted from food security, that were all other places that were having drought at the same time, East Africa and so on. So in other words, multiple failures of bread baskets around the world. How do we get ahead around the Earth system modeling that is needed to understand this? At the bottom right is a little schematic, and it's meant to be a heuristic for us thinking about how changes in one part of the world begins to affect the others. and when droughts are occurring in both of those places, what the vulnerabilities are. And in some parts of the world, they've actually led to conflict. We haven't seen in between country conflicts, but within country, when it comes to grazing lands, when it comes to water supply, that's the thing that matters. Many people know the word rival, your competitor. Rival comes from the French word rivière, which is river. A rival is someone that moves across from you on the river. That's where the word comes from and begins to use the same resource. And that's where we're seeing some of this beginning to happen. So the challenge of drought is multiple definitions, and we have meteorological. Many of you know the deficits in precipitation. Hydrological, how does this filter over time in stream flows, groundwater, and land surface areas? Agricultural, what does this mean to soil moisture? And when you draw a map of a place like the US or islands in the Caribbean, sometimes the map of hydrologic drought does not match that of the precipitation drought because it depends on where that water ends up. Some of the conflict we're seeing in East Africa is not where it's dry, it's where it's raining, because that's where people move their animals. So we have to think about the context of the different definitions. The other issue is, and this is a figure we drew years ago in the WMO when it used to be the Commission on Agrometeorology, the fact that the impacts of drought last much longer than after the precipitation has returned to normal. When does it start? And the most important question in drought is, when does it intensify? Because all of our traditional, the johads, the storage systems, are used up by the time a drought intensifies. So the question for drought, onset is critical, but even more important is intensification and demise. And then there's the increasing interconnected and cumulative impacts on different sectors at different times. Definitely a complex problem, not amenable to event-by-event forecasting. So what are these cascading and compounding risks? A cascading risk is a chain reaction of impacts propagating through interconnected systems. In other words, one failure in water supply then filters into the economies of people who depend on that, filters into livestock damage, it filters into environmental impacts. It amplifies the initial impacts, triggering a series of related failures or increased fragility that extends beyond the initial accident. We estimate that the economic impact of drought, unlike other hazards, is 3 to 4 times the cost, the secondary and tertiary impacts, than the immediate impact itself. That doesn't happen with hurricanes or anything else. The impacts and the costs begin to taper off in time, but not in drought. It, in fact, begins to multiply through the systems. And compounding risks, multiple risks combined at near simultaneous times, amplifying the overall impact and significantly greater than the sum of the individual parts. I'll come back to how we're using things like machine learning and so on, but I want to point out that we actually do not know how to predict these complex risks in any meaningful way for impacts. So there's precipitation around the globe. And we know from years of work that there's the cross-time scale problem, and these are dependent on topographic characteristics locally, land cover and land use, how water is being managed. So how the cross-scale drivers of the climate system interact with these time-varying factors become very important. How do we understand the influence of a changing weather and climate dynamics on antecedent conditions, location, magnitude, and frequency of extreme events? The IPCC models, which I have worked on, do a very good job of doing comparative work on the perturbation produced by addition of greenhouse gases, but they do not calculate this. In other words, the projections being used should not be used for planning at this scale when you're actually dealing with cross-scale. This is why you need an Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, because at the regional, local level, the projections are not enough and cannot be dynamically downscaled consistently to get at the drivers on different timescales. So where does this lesson come from? The work of Wallace and Gutzler and Yang, Charney and Shukla over time, Liebman and Hartman, and a whole gang of folks have helped us understand the link between ocean temperature anomalies, the drivers on those timescales, the global scale atmospheric anomalies, the regional forcing and land feedbacks, local impacts, information needs. Most of our studies follow this pattern of the drought drivers over time. Excellent work has been done for many years in helping to understand these varying timescales. The issue is what happens when you're dealing with the weather to climate continuum as one system. So how is an extreme really created? This is work that everyone in this room knows. What I would like to do is bring it back to the central question of the day. How does an extreme get created, and how well can we talk about a changing climate in terms of planning? There's climatology in black. The climatology plus the trend begins to move the distribution, and this is only temperature, not precip. Climatology, trend, and boundary conditions, and then the internal variability of the atmosphere itself. We estimate for parts of the United States, oceans drive about 50% of the variance of many droughts. 40% is driven by internal atmospheric variability, something we do not have our heads around completely. And so when we draw the height anomalies, this is 2023, 2022, in which you can see the setup of variability and extremes over different parts of the world. It becomes very difficult to do these kinds of things in projections. So how do we manage the cross-scale weather to climate continuum in the context of drought? One of the ways that we've thought about this, and some of you may be already being used this product, it comes out of my lab, called the Evaporative Demand Index. Here is 2012. We have many other examples like this. There's the drought monitor showing precipitation conditions. There's the atmospheric demand as it begins to change over time. You can see on the left, the drought monitor has not yet picked up that big red blotch in the middle of the United States. All of a sudden, in 2 weeks, it explodes. And then gradually, almost a month later, the drought monitor begins to pick up the drought event. In other words, the evaporative demand is leading the conditions of drought because of the amount of vapor and water being assumed and taken up from the land. That has become a very, very useful tool, and you can see the calculation next to us, to try and get our heads around land-atmosphere feedbacks, evaporative demand, and soil moisture conditions. It responds positively to both short-term drought and sustained droughts over time. So how we include these in the model becomes very important because it's not just a temperature signal. It's wind, it's humidity, it's circulation over time. When I ask people and we look at the projections and say, okay, how is the circulation modifying the vertical velocity and motions of the systems? We don't have that yet understood under a changing climate. So one of the phenomena, and we had published a paper in Nature a few years ago, is the issue of short-term droughts, or what has been called flash droughts. These are droughts that occur at sub-seasonal scale, and why they're important is if your peak growing area is during that season, then it matters to you if it happens. And there you can see the energy-limited areas when energy begins to transverse into moisture-limited regions. And now this is being used around the world to do famine early warning relief for areas that are actually being impacted by food security and conflict over time. On the top, you can see one case in which there's a flash drought occurring in a matter of weeks with no background drought, a flash drought on an existing drought, and no flash drought or rapid intensification. In other words, the first two gives you a sense that you can have severe drought conditions induced by atmospheric demand that actually exacerbate the drought conditions over time. In the East African case study that I mentioned, and we have several of these around the world, there is, of course, an arid and semi-arid land area, high exposure to drought and increasing vulnerability, and community livelihoods depend very closely on rainfall, and the burden of water scarcity is most felt by women and girls. One of my other mentors, a guy by the name of Gilbert White, during the 1960s asked the question, who carries the water? That changed the way the UNDP did their training. They were training men on sanitation, on taking care of nutrition, and all of a sudden, a fundamental, simple question, who carries the water, changed the focus of where they would be going. In this part of the world, one of the teams that I coordinate with and host several of the scientists in my group is the Famine Early Warning System Network. And what we've introduced are causal mapping of the drivers of food insecurity over time. In other words, where are the entry points for the types of data I just mentioned? Because we know at each stage has uncertainty in the global circulation, uncertainty at the local level, uncertainty at the regional levels, but there is usable knowledge in each of them. The widespread acute food insecurity being reported on the ground. There's a prolonged drought forecast, and those all come out of physical sciences. Worsening food insecurity, the prolonged drought, and so what ends up happening is that when it begins to be prolonged drought forecast and worsening food insecurity, we are able to work with the international community to get ahead for small communities for pre-positioning food supplies in the case of famine. This has now led to a lot of small communities in these areas being able to plant their crops ahead of time. So it's not simply following the agroclimate calendar, it is asking, when can we get ahead of worsened food insecurity? And that's one of the roles and goals of the Famine Early Warning System Network. But we cannot simply produce a linear view that says, X happens, we're going to respond to it this way, and we're going to join it over time, because at each point, there's a high degree of uncertainty in terms of thinking through it. So we know how to make positive dynamics during increasing drought risk, and more importantly, how to avoid negative dynamics, the things that lead to land degradation and habitat loss, versus the things that lead to positive dynamics as a result of increasing drought risk, but the feedback on land surface, on using ecosystem health, on water management, reduces that actual drought risk. So more and more, drought is a land and water nexus question, and it is about smart land management. And one of the great things about IITM is they make a strong distinction between being ready and being climate smart, because they take different actions over time. And the need here, in the case of drought, is to shift from responding on an event-by-event alone basis to addressing the propagation and accumulation of risk and these cascading impacts, because one of them leads from land surface, use of water, to negative dynamics, and one leads to positive dynamics. And we can map that in communities, from the level of communities to the private sector over time. The way we do this, more coordinated, and this was, a set of them were created through the high-level ministerial on drought, is through integrated information systems, bringing all the relevant information to bear, monitoring and forecasting, risk assessment, early warning, communication, and embedding in practice, helping decision makers understand, proactively manage, and build resilience to weather, climate, and water risks. On the right is the Integrated Drought Management Program of the WMO and the Global Water Partnership, which we helped develop, and monitoring and early warning are key. So is risk reduction. And the way we get at that, and this is the example from the National Integrated Drought Information System, is to create the integrated information system, such as is being done in Mission Mausam, for monitoring, observations, and forecasting, impacts and scenarios, communication and outreach, planning and preparedness teams that work together in different regions to build the thing on the right. Most critically is the active role of knowledge governance, developing and coordinating partnerships, networks, and public-private partnerships. But critically is the decision-making rules. Who makes the decision for whose benefit? One of the things that made this happen and help us create this was having a public law. And I worked on helping to write that legislation. And I think this would be really useful. I know there's interest in IITM and across India for helping to create a system-wide view for creating and improving the public law management of the US, of the IITM. I've helped the Caribbean develop something similar and did this for the US. 3 public laws have now been done across different political regimes. They authorize and reauthorize the information system across government, academia, and private sector, and are able to update those provisions based on new research insights. This is the most important thing from an IITM standpoint. How and where in the law is new research used and applied, as opposed to just creating prototypes on projects, right? As I like to say, if we only have projects, we have pilots. You need a law, that's the plane, right? It's important not to only have pilots, but to have planes. And a critical thing here is understanding where heavy rainfall events matter in the case of drought. Many people will come to you and say, oh, is it over? Is it over? Are we okay? Because we've had a heavy inundation event. And the issue is, how much does it take to end the drought when it's been on for 5 years or 4 years? And that has become part of the law So my point about creating a law together with Congress, together with others, it has to be adaptable using the information system to constantly update as new information applies. And I'm not making this up. This is something that is operational right now. It was actually reauthorized by the present administration as well as the past one. Something that has come out of that, and you'll see this more and more in WMO, is the National Heat Health Information System, built along that very same line. And I wanted to point this out simply because you know very well across the globe, across the world, droughts are becoming hotter. Certainly in the Southwest US and elsewhere, when we have a drought, the drought is also hotter. In fact, the largest mortality in the world is during periods of drought that are also hot, more than hurricanes or more than anything else than that. So I want to keep that in mind. So what are the challenges? The challenge is not to manage for change because of uncertainty in the projections, but to anticipate and manage through a changing climate on these timescales. Multi-year droughts are at present not addressed by any reliable forecast, but as Dr. Mohapatra know, we move through cycles of disaster management to living with uncertainty. We call that the hydrological cycle, how our learning takes place. We also know that we need to bridge the initial conditions and the longer-term boundary conditions. So advanced Earth observation systems and seamless prediction capabilities with coupled modeling as we do now, but also construct risk profiles of the rates of change of extremes at these temporal scales and produce hindcast and reforecast infrastructure for applications. This is where AI and ML can be really valuable. Not only in training the data sets for what we need to do, but making the case that long-term data sets are in fact needed. A lot of work we do with the private sector, when we ask them, well, what can you do in this space? They ask the first thing, do you have long data sets that we can use? So it's not just like that. Then address systemic risks of the kind I was mentioning. Cascading impacts that spread within and across systems and sectors result from submerged vulnerabilities, degraded landscapes, health, water resources, infrastructure. So along comes a deficit, but it is imposed on something that is already damaged. And those are the things in the iceberg below the water. The known and quantifiable risks are the things we can do in forecasting precipitation deficits, but below those are all of these social water supply issues. One is managing risk, one is managing for resilience. And I'm challenging, because I know they can do it, just like we're trying to do around the world, our scientific communities to help us manage for resilience, not just risk. So monitoring and early warnings that include information on compound risk, cascading impacts, and these buffer conditions actually produce a clearer picture of systemic risks. So when we ask, why aren't our impacts decreasing? In part, it's because we're not dealing with them as systemic risks. So when we take a look at pre-event conditions, land use, water, the ecosystem buffers, who is exposed, the vulnerability, the large-scale climate drivers, climate change sensitivity, remote teleconnection, subseasonal interannual variability, and we have basically projections of drought, floods, and extreme heat without the local physical and conditioning factors, we can't in fact use that information for planning. And in fact, we cannot then apply them to decision-making arrangements and triggers, or we risk maladaptation. This is called the disaster forensics approach, and we wrote a full report on this with the UNDR last year on how you do this. And this is the challenge. At each entry point, at each arrow, at each point in there is a place for detailed scientific research in the context of meteorological and climatological risks. The nodes in these causal networks represent points of intervention. In other words, what we have to be able to do is not simply say, something is impending, how do we act? We have to ask, how is that risk being created, and where can we reduce the likelihood of that risk being bigger than we want it to be? Another thing that is needed is to understand and measure the economic co-benefits across proactive and prospective drought risk. This is something that we need to take fuller advantage of. And you heard it in many of the talks earlier where people were saying, look, the information is used by X, the information is used by Y, the information is used, documenting and getting a strong handle around the multiple co-benefits that are realized throughout the economic system and communities is actually an area of active research. And this fostering multiple social and economic benefits helps us secure funding that is not just related to the improvements in our models, but improvements in the value that our models provide. That is a larger way in terms of leveraging money. It's beyond the Green Climate Fund sort of funding when we look at development agencies. There are many valuable examples around the world. I presented this and these cases at the Vatican last year at the invitation of the then Pope, who was doing the Green Wall issue in Sahara. We have cases from around the world that says when you address those co-benefits, when you address the system variables, when you try to address these in a combined way, we can make communities stronger. My problem is how to sustain those communities being stronger over time. So in all of our equations, as Einstein said once, in all of our calculations, drought is still human. It is still about people. It is still about their choices. And to attend to the knowledge transfer, the product development, monitoring and prediction, preparedness planning, applied research, we have to respond to people with people. And my big challenge is, where is this new cadre of professionals who can sustain these collaborative networks across public-private research, observations, and decision-making, including those people who we are improving their knowledge of meteorology and climate and so on. I'm writing the guidance right now for the WMO on how countries should use, with an international team, should use projections in the context of these kinds of problems. So more than anything, if I were to say, what do we need, is these kinds of interfaces needs a new cadre of professionals drawing on the knowledge of people who are in this room. Thank you. If you have any questions, Dr. Surya Chanda will answer them. Yes, please. Can I? I hope I didn't take too long. By the way, the water on the left is actually the Rhine. Just to give you a sense, droughts are affecting pretty much everywhere.
So,
yes, sir.
Yes. So see, this, compounding and that cascading centers, they pose the traditional risk, that always pose the traditional risk management.
Right.
That often, underestimated the total impact of this.
Yeah.
So really what I wanted to say, it is very harder to predict the
Absolutely.
signal.
Yeah.
So what I'm requesting is just focus on this, why this is.
Okay, so the idea is this. Events happen. Events and risks happen even when we don't predict them. The mission of my institute is not simply to say, how do I build a model I can use? The mission of my institute is to protect lives and property. So I have to argue, what piece can we predict and what piece can we reduce the risks beforehand? That's the difference between proactive, what is likely to happen, how do we respond, and prospective, how is the system likely to collapse? Where are the nodes and the buffers? That's what we look at beforehand to try to protect those systems so that then the prediction and the forecast and the value of the forecast actually helps save more lives, and we don't actually then go, well, why did so many people collapse? Well, there were landslides too. There were other things as well. So the point is this. There are two types of risks, and there are two types of prediction, of course. Prediction of the first kind, which is initial conditions. Prediction of the second kind, of slowly varying states. Very similarly, you have two kinds of risks. One that we forecast, and we try to get ahead from what the forecast is saying. But I'm pointing out all the other things that might make a hazard become a disaster that we did not forecast. And unless we're working with the external community and showing the co-benefits of the forecast, we won't get them to pay attention to that. One of the things we did in East Africa was do the food security analysis with people beforehand. So we knew where to target it if a drought was going to happen. So when we forecast the drought, we knew where to go. So this is the combination that is actually needed to achieve sustainable development, as opposed to, I am forecasting this, what does it mean? To protect lives, property, economic security, and the environment means that we get our heads around the complexity of the risk, not just the piece we can predict. And that's why I say an effort on not just prediction, but on predictability becomes very important. So if we are interested in reducing the risk, that's important. If we're just interested in saying I have value in my forecast, that's a different question. So it's a great question, though. And we're trying to develop the systems to do it, so. Sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Rogers. It was the very eye-opening review of the various activities and the need of the hour. I would just like to draw your attention towards the legal aspects
Absolutely.
of drought.
Absolutely.
Actually, as we have moved on towards the risk and resilience, so drought is not limited to the rainfall.
Yep, absolutely.
So as a result, earlier, Minister for Science or IMD and IITM, they were dealing with the drought.
Yeah.
But nowadays, as per government rule, we are not dealing with the drought. We are confined only to the rainfall and its variability, departures, etc. So in this scenario, as you look at entire cycle of actions you have mentioned here, so I find that we have the limited role towards socioeconomic drought or the hydrological drought or the ecological
And that was part
drought.
of the question.
So therefore, the legal actions or the law, whatever is essential, perhaps it can be guided centrally towards the concerned government agencies. Or what is your suggestions?
Absolutely.
How can we take off these legal aspects or the laws
This
in
is
state level?
So what is law but an agreement to act collaboratively, right? With certain guidelines, with rules. And so my role, and you saw, I showed you the National Integrated Drought Information, public law. The Weather Service plays a strong role in that, similar to IITM. The institute that I'm from, the Ocean and Atmospheric Research, is very, very much like IITM. What I'm suggesting is that, and this is the same thing we're trying to do, and you'll hear this later in the week on the Global Framework for Climate Services, is to be able to get the other partners, agriculture, disaster risk reduction, water, energy, to be able to say, how do we create a public law with the folks in meteorology that takes better use of their information to create drought management plans, not just emergency evacuation plans, and to put that in a public law. Now, the way you do this is that by saying the impacts of drought and the response to drought is a public good. That's the only way we create laws, is when something is seen as a public good, health, water, and so on. I would suggest that the IITM, in working with its partners on impacts, help lead an activity within India and these other ministries to create a public law that realizes the value of the forecast and data. Because you cannot do it alone. And neither it is your mandate. I agree with you. However, if drought is a comprehensive problem, which we all know it is, and then it requires a comprehensive approach. But it requires a comprehensive approach that is grounded in science. And this is where IITM comes in, from my standpoint. So if I were to say, you create a system, monitor and forecasting, risk assessment, communication, preparedness, and putting in planning, the monitoring and forecasting is extremely central, but it's not enough. But that's what we do. So whenever we say, and as I was telling the young man over there, our role is really to help the nation thrive and to help the environment, communities, and so on. Creating a comprehensive approach lets us do that, and it helps realize the public investment in science. And that's what we want to be able to do. As I said before, AI without long data sets is not real information, right? But I take your point. There's the place, but we have to create a partnership with our across the other agencies to be able to produce a public law of that kind. It's the only one I know of in the world that is actually a public law on drought. So, fully agree that no one group can do it. So, yeah. But I just want to say that it's not, saying that doesn't mean it hasn't happened. Yeah, are we over time? Oh, yeah, 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 good, good, good. If it's a hard question, we're over time. Okay, so,
Okay.
yes.
Maybe can we take the questions?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. And thank you for the invitation.
Thank you very much, sir, for your inspiring talk. And I'm sure a lot of us have learned a lot about route science from the talk, and very insightful comments and very insightful questions as well. I request the audience who have questions may interact with the speaker during tea break. So here we are breaking for tea. It's going to be 15 minutes tea break for now. I'm around 12:30 is what we are supposed to come back because we are learning a little late. So we have on the other side of tea break we have award presentations from the awardees. So before we break for high tea, I request everyone to come back by around 15 minutes, 12:30 or at least 12:35. We have very important announcements about the lunch. So the lunch will be served at multiple venues. So I would like to request all the contractual staff, security personnel, to have their lunch from 12 to 1 o'clock in the canteen and canteen lawn. In the canteen and canteen lawn for contractual staff and security personnel. For all the students and project staff, I repeat, for all the students and project staff, the lunch will be served at the canteen and the canteen lawn itself from 1 to 2:30. Canteen lawn for students and project staff. For the directors, dignitaries, project directors, VIPs, press, and all the dignitary guests, the lunch will be served at the guest house. For all the scientists, scientific staff, staff of administration, accounts, LIP, guests, or the retired employees, the lunch will be served in the basement of the Meghdut Hall. So I request everyone to please spread the word about this, that lunch will be served at different venues, and please avail that. We would now like to invite you all for the high tea, which has been arranged at the basement of this hall as well as the reception, and all the guests will be served the high tea at the guest house. I request everyone to come around 12:35. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Welcome everyone. This session will be chaired by Professor Ravi Nanjundia. We will now begin with the talk by Dr. Momita for Best Research Paper Young Scientist Award.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I am Dr. Momita. So I am going to present our work which is awarded today. The name of this title of the talk is the Improved Indian Summer Monsoon Rainfall Simulation, the significance of reassessing the auto-conversion parameterization in coupled climate model. So this paper is published in 2020-24 in Climate Dynamics. So myself and Dr. Anupam Hajra, Dr. Ankur Srivastav, Dr. Dibjyoti Mudia, Dr. Hemant Kumar Chaudhary, Dr. Surya Chandra Rao, and Professor Liangping Wang were the authors of this paper. So the target is that a skillful extreme events So the target is that a skillful extreme event, ISMR rainfall predictions. So why so? Because we all know that agriculture, food production, the Indian economy, public health, water management, water resource management, livelihood of the more than 1 billion people is depending on it. So a reliable forecast of monsoon rainfall on the across scale is vital for the policy makers, farmers, and the water managers. Now, this is the outline of my talk. I will talk about first I'll start with identify the major biases of the models from observations, then challenges for the quantitative precipitation forecast. And then I will talk about the theoretical understanding of the importance of the better representation of the cloud properties in the model and discuss the pathway or the strategy for the model development. And then I will talk about the development suggested by the partial DNS model using the observations like KIPEX, YPEX and all. And then I will talk about the results from the large-scale model. Now let's understand what is the major bias. So to identify the major bias, I have plotted the rainfall PDF of this rainfall PDF where I have taken the observation is GPCP and then I have taken along with CFS V2. There are other CMIP6 models. So if I see the below panel, so the below panel is the zoom out of the 0.5 to 3 rainfall beams, mean the lighter rainfall, and the right one is the higher or the moderated or the higher rainfall beam zoom. So if we compare with the yellow one, this is the observation. So so all other models, not even in our CFS V2 models, our other CMIP6 models also has the overestimation of the light rainfall and underestimation of the heavier or the moderated rainfall. Now we are separating this into two problems. So here we are only focusing on the overestimation of the light rainfall, and we see how we can improve this one. So what are the challenges? Now the challenges is that the cloud microphysics process is not explicitly represented into the global models. So we have to rely on the cloud microphysical parameterizations, which is and those parameterizations which currently models are using as developed in the decades ago and based on some other countries' observations. The second thing is that when we are talk about the light rainfall predictions, so we need to first better represent the diffusional growth, because after activation of the droplets, the diffusional growth means governs the cloud droplets growth, and then the droplets are participate in the further processes. So this diffusional growth influences the rate of formation of the warm cloud precipitation in the cumulus cloud. Second one is the realistic choice of the auto-conversion parameterization scheme, because after diffusional growth, the cloud to rain auto-conversion is the another most important process, and this initiate the precipitation formation and this influence the drizzle in the stratiform clouds. Now, what is the solution for that? So, if we follow Grabowski's 2019 paper or the Morrison's 2020 paper, they have mentioned that the understand and accurately represent the physical process involved in the formation or the growth of the cloud droplets at the cloud micro scale. So, for that, they have given two solutions. Either we can go for the lab experiments, or another thing, we can go for the small scale or the bean model, partial bean model. So, since the laboratory experiment is quite expensive, we are going for the second options. So now let's understand how we can represent the diffusional growth accurately using our partial DNS model. Partial DNS model we have taken because this is the model which solve the diffusional or the growth equation explicitly without considering any assumptions, and it has considering the water activity or the solute effect and the curvature effect. So for that study, we designed an experiment where we have taken the Kypex observations over Sholapur. And we take two environment initial conditions. So first one, the Kypex observation is taken at the 4 kilometers height, which is considered as a first cloud, and which is basically representing the dry environment. And the second one is taken at the height at 5.5 kilometer, which is more humid, or which is called, so we are taking this as a second cloud. So these two observations are taken as an initial condition for our partial DNS model, and then the model starts rising upward corresponding to this height, from their corresponding height. And then we are observing what is the droplets growth with time and height. So one interesting thing we have observed that for the first cloud, the growth pattern is completely different than the second cloud. So that means that different environment, the growth will be different. So that need to be represented into our model correctly. Now what we did is that using the small scale model, first we have calculated what should be the diffusional growth rate, or what should be the range of the diffusional growth rate for different type of clouds. And then we have reassessed the auto-conversion parameterization. So model was using the Sunquest parameterization. So using that parameterization, so we have calculated the auto-conversion rate using our partial DNS model data. And what we observed that the dashed line is for the two different cases, but if we use the Sunquest type auto-conversion, the model is not able to distinguish the difference between the shallow cloud or the convective cloud, and we can see that the same slope for all the cases. Then in 2004, Liu and Dam were given a new parameterization scheme, which is not only dependent on the liquid water content. The Sunquest type auto-conversion was only depending on the liquid water content. But Liu and Dam adding one more term, that is the dispersion based. Now why dispersion based? Because dispersion is the rate of standard deviation by the mean volume radius. So when we talk about the mean volume radius, that means it is representing the growth. Now we cannot directly represent the growth into our model, so we have to represent it into our large scale models through the dispersion rate. So we have plotted the auto conversion from the partial DNS model, and we observe that it is beautifully distinguished both the clouds, the convective cloud and the shallow clouds. So we made two modifications. One is the diffusional growth rate we have modified in our large scale model, and then second one is we have replaced the Sunquest type auto conversion with the Liu and Dam auto conversion. Now let's see what is the result coming after the modification. So we did the sensitivity experiment with the CFS V2 model, which is 38 kilometer horizontal resolution, and we have plotted the mean JJS mean rainfall. And we can observe that the first one is the GPCP, the second one is the controlled, which is without before any modification, and the third one is the after modifications. So after modification, we can see that here clearly improvement in the spatial pattern of the JJS mean rainfall over the extended Indian summer monsoon, it is observed. Similarly, if parallelly the right hand side, we have plotted the bias of that. So if we compare the bias from the control to the mod, so this is the bias is reduced significantly in the modified in the mod simulations. Now then we have plotted the JJS mean of the high cloud fraction, and we saw that if compared to the observation Calypso GeoCCP, we have observed that, so here the control is there, control was over, underestimation was there, so that underestimation is much more reduced in the mod. And the same here in the JJS mean of the OLR. So in the OLR also we can see the control was overestimating the OLR, and that one is much more reduced. Even in the at the table we can see that the global annual average is global annual average, and the global JJS for the OLR and the HCF is calculated, and we have observed that they are compared to control, the mod is much closer to the observations. Now let's see that what is the PDF which we were talking about the first initial slides. So this blue one is the control CFS V2, and the second, the red one is the modified one. So we have seen that the 14% overestimation is reduced in the light rainfall estimations. And also we have observed that the earlier the PDF of OLR was giving the higher values in the higher bins, means they are producing more shallow clouds, which is reduced, and there is a good agreement between the mod and the observations NOAA in the PDF file. Now we have plotted the vertical profile of the apparent heat source difference and the temperature difference, and also the mass distribution for the throughout the vertical profile. Now here we can observe that the lower, the mid level and the higher level, the temperature difference is more. Let's try to understand why it is happening so for the mod case. So earlier what happens when there was no modification was done in the control model was not able to physically taking the, means realistic, the growth was not able to capture. So the cloud's lifetime was very short. So droplets are growing faster and they become, so they scavenge as a overestimated rainfall. Now after physical based modification is done, what happens is that the cloud, the lifetime was increased. After modifications, so after activations, so there are, because we know that our mass is conserved. So into that, so when after activation, droplets are growing up to the some certain part, it is growing as a diffusional growth, and then some of them is participating into the auto conversion from cloud to rain auto conversion, and some of them are participating for the higher processes like collision, coalescence, breakup, all these processes. Now in the smaller droplets, so what happens when there is a more condensation is happening, so heat release is more, latent heat release is more, so the buoyancy difference is creating. So when there is a buoyancy difference is creating, so the smaller droplets invigorate above the freezing level, and they are participating in the cold clouds process, like supercool, making a supercool droplet, or the freezing, or the ice to snow formation, and also snow aggregation or the snow melting. So these are the process. So even in the above the freezing level also there is a condensation is happening, so there is a latent heat release, so the temperature is more. So the same thing we can observe for the mass distribution also. So since there is the physically based droplets are growth information is given to the droplets, so there the mass at the vertical distribution is well captured by the modified. Now here also we can see that the liquid water content, the PDF of the liquid water content, so we can see that the liquid water content is much more improved along with the compared to the control for the EDA5 reanalysis data. Now we have plotted the JJS mean convective rainfall. So if we compare with the TRMM observation data, so the control is, so overestimation is there, and overestimation is there. So this overestimation is much more reduced in the mod. And we can say that there is still bias is there. For that we need to look into the further microphysical processes. And the difference also we can see that there are major underestimation is reduced significantly. So this is the modification which is done. So so already I have discussed the hypothesis what is happening because of this the Lewandam auto conversion. So this converts the deep convection more. So this is the total liquid water content is more, and that's why the relative humidity is more, and less rainfall, lighter rainfall, and more heavier or the moderate rainfall. So this is the only one case we have done for, means with one observations data. We have did all this modification that need to be generalized using the dispersion rate. And for that, we need more observations data that should go into our partial DNS model or for the theoretical understandings, and we can develop more tendency equations for that. So to parameterizations we can use, develop through the AI machine learning approach, and then we can implement first into our WOF model to see that how it is improving, and then we can go for the GCM models. So these are the conclusions. I think I don't have time, so I'm not repeating this one. So I would like to thank the committee for giving me this, recognizing our work. I deeply thank to the Dr. Surya Chandra Rao, our director, for his continuous support and for having faith in me when I have nothing to serve on his plate. So, and I sincerely thank Dr. Anupam Hajra for guiding me continuously in this research work, and Dr. Mahin Konwar and the entire KIPEX team for for available this data to make this. Dr. Bipin Kumar for initial DNS code, which we have developed as a partial DNS model and modified by incorporating several microphysical banks. My family, my husband, and to my IITM colleagues, friends, HPC system, and all the students for their continuous support, and thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Momita. We can have just one quick question if anybody has. Just a minute. Sure, please.
Firstly, this is, I really like this work, where it has basic science in it.
Thank you, sir.
An explanation for the heating difference which you have seen in the upper atmosphere, that figure, the central figure.
Yes, sir.
You have explained in terms of the precipitation and latent heat liberation.
Yes.
But one thing which you perhaps missed is, this short wave radiative forcing by clouds is very high. The incoming short wave radiation will be absorbed partially at the cloud top. In fact, there's a paper on radiatively driven convection. This itself can trigger a convection through that. So if you apportion, you already know now the liquid water content in it. So that is the latent heating.
Yes.
If you also estimate from your radiation how much is the radiative flux differences that is coming, then you will get a direct explanation for that. Very good work. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I think we are running short of time. Thanks, Dr. Momita, for a very nice work, and all the best for future endeavors. So the next speaker is
Okay, now I request Dr. Justice Chaudhary to deliver his talk. Basically, in the research category, he's been given an award in the research category for modeling research. Dr. Justice, you will get 15 minutes, out of which 12 minutes are for talk, 3 for interactions. So, thank you.
Good afternoon to all. So I would like to thank Director IITM and Award Committee for giving me this opportunity. Special thanks to our group members, project manager, and students and collaborators for their continuous support. So today I'm going to discuss on the discrepancies between climate models and observations, prospects of two of those important aspects like westerly jet and ENSO. So Indian summer monsoon variability is highly depends on various climate modes, as we know. And first and foremost is the ENSO and southern oscillation. And as we know that ENSO has a lot of flavors, say diversity. Because of that diversity, predicting of this ENSO is still a challenging problem. And when you have a different ENSO types, it could influence large-scale circulation, for example, mid-latitude circulation, say westerly jet. So that in fact can feed back to the monsoon and can have a changes. So these two components seems to be important to understand and how the models are doing good. And these modes are not independent. They are collectively can impact the monsoon. They independently can influence the monsoon. So understanding those links is always important. Again, the big brother on the interannual time scale is ENSO. Yes, observational understanding is quite high, but how the models are representing this relationship between ENSO and monsoon and in different categories of ENSO is not known. Another important aspect is that the warming in the North Atlantic. So that can trigger the changes in westerly jet, and that can communicate the changes into the southern South Asian monsoon. So are we really understand? And then is that changes really simulated by the models? So that is a question. Pertaining to recent changes in the monsoon, we can see there last two decades, with respect to previous 2 decades, the monsoon is changing. Here, you could see dipole-like pattern with northwest India increasing rainfall, and there is a decreasing rainfall over the central India and eastern parts. This seems to be interesting because northwest India rainfall seems to be contributing it increased around 32% of contribution to the total rainfall. So it is important. If you look at the trend of observations here, so you do see the dipole-like pattern. But when it comes to the models, like CMIP models, even like large ensemble models, like 50 ensembles, are unable to reproduce the trend. So when there is a increasing rainfall is happening in the recent 2 decades for the northwestern parts, there is a decreasing rainfall in the eastern and central parts, but which is exactly opposite in the models. And now you can see the difference between 2 decades. Here is again dipole pattern, and you have a circulation is stronger than previous. So these are the differences, and why this dipole pattern is happening and why there is a rainfall increasing in the northwest India. There are many explanations, including shift of LLJ to slightly north, and a lot of moisture from the Arabian Sea, and there is a South Asian high impact. Also, there is a southern tropical Pacific circulation enhances, then all the way it is impacting the monsoon circulation. And apart from that, mid-latitude circulation changes are important. And then it comes, the mid-latitude interaction is increasing in the recent years. For example, when you look at the trend of geopotential height, meridional wind, what you would see, there's a wavy-like pattern, is an enhanced pattern over the Atlantic, and then we have enhanced pattern over the southern Asian jet region. This is called the Silk Road pattern. When you look at the first EOF mode of Silk Road pattern, so you can see high and low, they are propagating towards the east. And then when you look at the PC of that in the red colors, there is a phase change after 2000. That indicates that the phase of SRP is changing, and when you PC is regressed onto the rainfall and SST, what you see over the India is a dipole, clearly indicating that any change, this change in the mid-latitude circulation seems to be impacting or causing the changes in rainfall over Indian monsoon region. So it is always understand how do these models are doing. Now, particular mechanism called the barotropic governor effect. Are we really understand this? And this mechanism is really captured by the model. So we know from basic theory by pioneering work of Charney that how this mid-latitude circulation is changing. In a strong barotropic atmosphere, when jet stream becomes too strong and excessive horizontal shear actually creates kind of barotropic instability. So the excessive kinetic energy from that mean flow weakens the jet later. So when jet is weakening, then you would see that more meandering is happening. Because of that, your development of eddies, and that eddies again contributing to mean flow, creating a jet streak-like pattern that impacts the monsoon circulation. So how this pattern is captured in the observations and then how it works in the models. If you see this, this is the trend of the u square plus v square root of. So you can see the contour. It is increasing over the Atlantic region and then decreasing in Eurasia and increasing in the Asian jet region. There you see jet streak is happening. And zonal wind clearly showing very high values, indicating jet is stronger. And then when you look at the models are indicating low values and observations are not. So the model representation is pretty bad. And then when you look at the eddies here, there are eddies from the Atlantic, and then there is anticyclonic here, and cyclonic over the Caspian Sea, and anticyclonic in the East Asian region. So together enhancing the jet over this region, causing a jet streak. And there is a conversion of like kinetic energy from the eddy to the mean flow. That region is creating kind of this streaks. And when you look at the trend of that particular aspect, the models are almost showing the reverse. This is the CMIP 6 models, and the other one is a kind of large ensemble models. So none of these models are able to represent the pattern. So there is a missing point here. This barotropic governor mechanism is missing in these models. And then where from these changes are coming? When you look at the rainfall changes over India, and when you regress onto the SST, all warming is happening over the Atlantic. And we have cooling just north of it, and then there is a warming. So this tripole pattern seems to be driving the changes in the westerly jet, and then that is again changing the downstream, and then the fluxes are the fluxes clearly showing that there is a downstream is influencing the northwestern India. So this is mostly because of the changes in the AMO, not in AMO, because of AMOC. AMOC changes are driving the changes in the jet, and that is influencing the monsoon rainfall in the recent years. So though coupled model are not able to capture the wavy pattern, now when you force the model, atmospheric model with the tripole pattern, so you would see that the pattern of rainfall is very well captured, and even wavy pattern is captured. This indicates that the distribution of SSTs should be represented quite correctly, and transient changes in the SST also should be correctly represented in the coupled models. And of course, its interaction with the atmosphere needs to be improved. Further, this explains entire mechanism how the barotropic governor effect is explaining the Indian summer monsoon rainfall changes in the recent years. Now, not only just the changes in the zonal variation in the jet, but also displacement meridionally displacement of jet meridionally can also impact the monsoon. When jet displaced more onto the southern parts of like Tibetan Plateau, so you would see that that is reducing the rainfall over India. So we have come up with two mechanisms. One is like West Asian, East Asian, West Asian jet and easterly jet pathway. Another is East Asian jet and PJ pathway. So I'm not going to explain all those things. But what is a missing point here in the models is that East Asian jet, when moved southward, the equivalent barotropic structure causes kind of westerlies below, and then you have a convergence below that creates anticyclone, but that anticyclone is not extending to the India. Therefore, in the models, there is a missing point. But in observation, you can clearly see that is clearly, there is a connection between the Western North Pacific and then you have southern parts of India. When it comes to the second part, I will quickly wind up this. This is a beautiful picture showing that there is a clear diversity in the El Nino. So it starts from east and then it moves to the central part. When there is a lot of diversity in it, the associated wave pattern, for example, say PNA pattern, is also shifting. So that communicates with the westerly jet. The westerly jet dynamics are going to change. That again going to have influence on the mid-latitude circulation and then to the monsoon. So here representing SST is very important. And our group has been working on the decadal prediction for like last 5 years. Impressive progress has been made as pointed out by Director Sir. And then when we look at the CMIP models, first of all, we have to analyze the existing models. So there is a problem in those models. For example, the El Nino cycle is not accurately represented at 1 year lead. There is a peak a season later, you could see the peak, even in the La Nina. But surprisingly, these models are doing very well for the prolonged La Nina conditions, that is the multi-La Ninas. Then that is basically because the dynamics are more important. Ekman dynamics can explain that, so seems to be working very well. So multi-La Nina years are well explained. But what about the SST related to the ENSO? So when you look at the ACC, quickly I will finish, ACC, so ACC in the first lead year is quite good. That means in 1 year ahead, you can predict the El Nino related SSTs and then tropical Indian Ocean SSTs. And in fact, the tropical Indian Ocean SSTs can be predicted even 10 years ahead. So that is the beauty of these models. But El Nino, if you see, the skill score is drastically decreasing with lead time. But when we look at the potential predictability, models have a potential to predict that, but there is a scope of improvement of these models. And then, okay, we predicted the SST related to El Nino 1 year ahead, but what is that response to the Indian Ocean? In some cases, so what we would see, you have predicted very well ahead of a year, but the response you see, it's quite different. There is unrealistic IOD you can see here, so which should not be there. And again, that impact on the monsoon of this IOD is not seen here because ENSO is dominating. So this is another important bias that we need to work on. It is true for the La Nina also. So I think its time is over, so I will stop here. And overall, refining the ocean-atmosphere interaction process, addressing the cold tongue bias in coupled model may be a way forward for us. Thanks.
Thanks, Dr. Jasti. A quick question, if anybody has. Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
You know, you mentioned both Atlantic and Pacific.
Yeah.
And on the, of course, the intra-seasonal scale, like Venugopal and others have looked at the impacts, and Shaman and Zipperman have looked at the Pacific. The North, I think it's called the North Asian African jet, which says that there's a westward kind of movement of the rain bands. What do you think of those two? Like one coming from the Atlantic and one coming from the Pacific. So what's your view on those mechanisms?
Yes. So on the interannual time scale or intra-seasonal time scale, I would see there is a growing influence of mid-latitude circulation, but it is highly influenced by like western northern Atlantic changes in the SST. And then in the Pacific, it's not just SST, the atmospheric circulation, for example, PJ. Any change in PJ, Pacific Japan pattern, or high over the northwest Pacific, if there is intensity change or extension change, that can modulate the synoptic scale features also. For example, in the El Nino cycle, when El Nino is developing and when El Nino is decaying, when there is El Nino decaying, Western North Pacific anticyclone is much stronger. That is extending to the Indian Ocean. That creates kind of negative vorticity. Because of that, number of depressions, if you see, compared to developing phase, in the decay phase, they are half of the developing phase. Though even synoptic scale features also influenced by both Atlantic as well as the Pacific. Yeah, that's
so a multi-scale interaction.
Multi-scale interaction, yeah.
Okay, I'm sure there are many more interesting questions, and we can discuss that over lunch. Thanks, Dr. Justy, for a very nice talk. Thank you.
Thanks to both the speakers, and a great thanks to Professor Ravi Nanjundia for chairing this session and making sure that the speakers keep the time. We are at the concluding part of our event. Now I request Dr. Sabeen, a senior scientist at IITM, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm just, without delaying, I'm just directly going to my vote of thanks. Respected dignitaries, former directors, distinguished guests from sister institutions and neighboring institutes, colleagues, students, and friends. On behalf of organizing committee, it's my privilege to honor to propose the vote of thanks on the special occasion of 64th Foundation Day of IITM. At the outset, I express our deepest gratitude to our chief guest, Dr. Roger S. Pulvarthi, for delivering an enlightening Foundation Day lecture. Your insights on drought science and cascading climate risk have offered valuable perspective on the growing needs of climate services for the entire nation. Even though Sri Naval Kishore Ram IAS, Pune Municipal Commissioner, couldn't join with us, I extend our sincere thanks to him as well as on this occasion. I extend our heartfelt thanks to our dignitaries, Dr. Mrityunjay Mahabatra Saab and Dr. V.S. Prasad Sir, Praveen Sir, Mission Director, Mission Mausam, who have joined us today despite tight scheduled several meetings in Delhi. A special word of appreciation to our director, Dr. Surya Chandra Rao, for his leadership, which taking major initiatives for steering IITM towards excellence in atmospheric and climate sciences. Your address today beautifully captured both our achievements and our aspiration for the years ahead, sir. You all might have aware that IITM is taking up a lot of events, the Indromet, which is the largest international symposium, which is about to start from tomorrow onwards. And IITM is also taking up IAS of 2025 this time. So IITM is taking a lot of responsibilities. So we hope that under the leadership of our director, we will be able to achieve all those things in a smooth manner. To all awardees, recipients, young scientists, researchers, and staff, many congratulations to all of you. Your accomplishment and reflects the scientific spirit and dedication and excellence that define IITM. I also extend our sincere thanks to all dignitaries who joined us today and to our former employees whom we felicitated. Your contribution have laid the strong foundation for which IITM continues to grow. My gratitude goes to the Foundation Day Committee led by Dr. Thara Prabhakaran and to all faculty, staff, and students whose dedication and teamwork have made today's event success. A special mention to the administrative team, technical staff, security personnel, and hospitality team for their seamless coordination, our GA, contractual, CPWD staff, and their contractuals staffs. They are also working day and night to finish the civil works towards all these forthcoming scheduled programs are planned. Special thanks to all of them, as collectively that's make IITM's development what we are experiencing today and forthcoming. Finally, I thank each one of you in the audience, colleagues, collaborators, guests, and well-wishers for your presence and encouragement, your participation, and warmth and meanings to this celebration. Let us continue work together to advance the frontiers of weather and climate science and contribute meaningfully to the nation and to the global scientific community. Thank you, and Jai Hind.
Thank you, Dr. Sabin. I request everyone to rise for national anthem, please.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्जल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे, तव शुभ आशीष मांगे, गाहे तव जय गाथा। जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता। जय हे जय हे जय हे, जय 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 हे।
Jai.
Thank you everyone for joining us today in celebrating the 64th IITM Foundation Day. We hope you had a wonderful time.
Before we disperse, we have few announcements. Please be patient for 2 minutes. For lunch, we have arranged lunch for all the student and project staff at canteen and canteen lawn. And for director, dignitaries, project directors, VIP and press, lunch has been arranged in guest house. All the scientists, scientific staff, staff of administration, account, LIP, guest and retired employee, lunch has been arranged in Meghdud basement. Lunch timing will be from 1 to 2:30.
Okay, and now it's time to enjoy delicious lunch together, fostering friendships, collaborations at the different venues already mentioned. Thank you everyone, thank you.
We would also like to invite you all with your families for the cultural program at 5:30 p.m. today at Meghdud Hall, and that will be followed by dinner at 7 p.m. Thank you. Have a great day.
Yes, yes.